A Texas man has been charged with felony stalking over violent threats against Indiana Fever star Caitlin Clark.
Michael Lewis walked into court Tuesday morning.
Good morning, Mr. Lewis.
Guilty as...
No.
It is clear that there was something wrong. There's something wrong with this man. He is clearly not all right in the head, and he is clearly dangerous. This is awful. I hate hearing stories like this.
Stalking is a serious issue that no one should have to face, but it still remains a dark reality for many. This 55-year-old man from Texas has been accused of stalking Caitlin Clark. So let's dive in. But before that, let me tell you, the details of this case are chilling.
Only for him to learn about the charges he's facing. Lewis is charged with felony stalking after allegedly sending over a dozen sexually explicit messages and threats to Caitlin Clark on social media.
The case began when Michael Thomas Lewis allegedly sent a series of threatening and sexually explicit messages to Caitlin Clark through the social media platform X. These messages were reportedly sent over a period from December 16th to January 2nd. Detectives traced the messages back to an IP address that led them to locations in Indianapolis, including a hotel and a public library.
Caitlin Clark.
Okay.
And there was a guy that was stalking her that actually flew to Indianapolis and was sending her the tweets, and she was so scared she had to change her identity in person. So that guy actually went to court, and this is wild. Take a listen to this man in court.
Lewis, who resides in Texas, admitted to sending the messages after initially denying it. He described the messages as stemming from an imaginary relationship and claimed they were meant to be a joke or part of a fantasy, not an actual threat. But law enforcement took the matter seriously, especially given Lewis's presence in the same city as Clark.
Man, he is clearly not all right in the head, and he is clearly dangerous. This is awful. I hate hearing stories like this. We heard one just recently, just a few months ago, about Paige Becker and her stalker as well.
Clark, understandably fearful, had to change her appearance, adjust her public schedule, and alter her travel patterns to ensure her safety. She expressed that she felt very afraid after learning about the messages, which included alarming statements like Lewis claiming he was driving past her house multiple times a day. The fear and stress caused by such harassment cannot be overstated, particularly for someone in the public eye who has to maintain appearances and engage with fans.
Did stalk another person, to which Caitlin Clark, by engaging in a knowing or intentional course of conduct involving repeated or continued harassment.
Lewis's arrest took place over the weekend before his first court appearance. When he appeared in front of Marion County Superior Court Judge Angela Davis, he caused multiple disruptions. Wearing an orange jail jumpsuit and black sandals, Lewis shouted statements such as, "Guilty as charged, throw me the bookie, and I guess you got the wrong guy." His behavior in court further emphasized the unpredictable and concerning nature of his actions. When asked if he had a mental illness, Lewis stated that he needed his medications. He also confirmed that he lived out of his car and had limited financial resources, including only $100 in savings and a car valued at approximately $10,000.
And you must remain in the state of Indiana unless you get permission. You will be on GPS. You will not be allowed near Hinkle Fieldhouse, near...
Judge Davis entered a not guilty plea on Lewis's behalf and set his bond at $50,000. She also ordered him to stay away from Gainbridge Fieldhouse, the home arena of the Indiana Fever, and Hinkle Fieldhouse, where Clark's boyfriend, Connor McCaffrey, works as a basketball coach. If Lewis manages to post bail, he will be required to remain in Indiana and wear a GPS monitor. But Lewis made it clear that he has no intention of posting bail, stating, "I don't want bond, bail, whatever. I'm here. I'm staying." The charges against Lewis include one count of stalking, classified as a level 5 felony in Indiana. If convicted, he faces 1 to 6 years in prison and a fine of up to $10,000. Prosecutors have emphasized that this case demonstrates how online harassment can escalate into tangible threats of physical violence. Ryan Mears, a prosecutor involved in the case, showed the courage it takes for women to come forward in such situations, noting that many choose to remain silent out of fear or societal pressure. He praised Clark for setting an example and standing up against harassment. This is not an isolated incident in the world of women's basketball. Another case in September involved a man from the Pacific Northwest who was arrested for sending threatening messages to Paige Buchers, a standout player at UConn. Such cases underline the importance of addressing harassment seriously, regardless of the prominence of the victim. Online threats can have real and lasting impacts, and the legal system must work to protect individuals from harm.
We just put that caution out there from somebody who literally, like, I have experience, maybe not to the same level as some of the superstars are. I've never had that level of fame.
His behavior has caused significant concern and shows the dangers of online harassment turning into real real-world threats. The story surrounding his arrest and court appearance sheds light on the seriousness of such cases and the courage it takes for victims to step forward. Despite being confronted by the police, he continued his behavior. He described his actions as a fantasy-type thing, as if that somehow excused his stalking. This pattern of escalating behavior highlights just how dangerous stalking can be. It often begins with online messages, but can quickly progress to physical presence, as seen in this case. The fact that he was circling her house adds an even more terrifying layer to the situation. Stalking is not just about someone sending a few odd messages. It is invasive, threatening, and can escalate into something much worse.
Caitlin Clark doesn't get the same hate as black women in the WNBA. After Caitlin Clark's alleged stalker was arrested, Jamel Hill tried to quietly.
For public figures like Caitlin Clark, the risks are even higher because their lives are constantly under scrutiny. Being a star in the WNBA means Caitlin is not only an athlete, but also a public figure who attracts attention from fans and critics alike. While many admire her for her talent and dedication, others take this admiration to an unhealthy and dangerous level. It's a situation that no one, celebrity or not, should ever have to deal with. Caitlin Clark has managed her public persona with grace. She rarely engages with trolls or negative comments on social media. This is an admirable strategy, as responding can often encourage further harassment. But her silence has sometimes led to misconceptions. Caitlin Clark's fame as a basketball superstar has made her a bigger target for unwanted attention.
NCAA Division I history is getting her jersey retired. That's right, Iowa retiring number 22, Caitlin Clark's jersey next February. Clark, who was drafted number 1 overall by the Indiana Fever last spring and was the WNBA Rookie of the Year.
Being in the spotlight means millions of people know who she is, even if she doesn't know them. She is admired for her talent, her achievements, and her confidence on the court, but fame also comes with risks. Some people cross boundaries, thinking they have the right to her personal life just because she is well known. This is a problem many famous people face, especially women, because Caitlin is a public figure. Her games, appearances, and even personal details often get shared online. This makes it easier for someone with bad intentions, like Michael Lewis, to find and target her. People like him feel connected to famous figures, even if the connection is only in their mind. They might confuse admiration with obsession and feel like they know the person, even though they've never met. For Caitlin, being a target means having to live carefully. She had to change her schedule and appearance to stay safe. Fame is a big part of her life, but it also brings challenges that most people don't face. This situation shows how being famous can sometimes make life more difficult, even when you've done nothing wrong. Many assume that Caitlin was not facing any negativity or threats, but this incident proves otherwise. It is a reminder that we often see only a fraction of someone's life, especially when they are in the public eye. Behind the scenes, they might be dealing with immense pressure and even danger. This case also raises questions about the role of social media in enabling stalking. The digital age has made it easier than ever for stalkers to access information about their targets. Social media platforms can be a double-edged sword for public figures. On one hand, they offer a way to connect with fans, share achievements, and build a brand. On the other hand, they can also expose individuals to unwanted attention and threats. Caitlin Clark has been cautious about what she shares online, focusing primarily on her basketball career and personal interests like golf. This level of privacy is commendable and likely helps her maintain a sense of control in a world where so much of her life is public. People often demand more personal insights, asking for details about their favorite star's daily life, outfits, and locations. While this might seem harmless, it can create opportunities for stalkers to gather information and act on their obsessions. Public figures need to strike a balance between engaging with their audience and protecting their privacy. Stalking is not a new issue, but it is one that has gained more attention in recent years due to high-profile cases.
6 o'clock, a scary situation for UConn basketball star Paige Beckers. The man arrested for allegedly stalking her appeared in court today. Channel 3's Dylan Fearon was inside the courtroom in Rockville. He is live now.
Unfortunately, women in the public eye are often the primary targets. The WNBA has seen several players face similar threats, including Paige Beckers. These incidents shows the need for better security measures and support systems for athletes and celebrities. No one should have to live in fear because of their success or public status. It's also important to address the societal factors that contribute to stalking. Many stalkers justify their actions by claiming a personal connection with their target, even when none exists. threats. This delusion can be fueled by social media, where public figures often appear more accessible than they actually are. People need to understand the boundaries of appropriate behavior and the consequences of crossing those boundaries. The role of law is also critical in handling stalking cases. In Caitlin's case, the police acted swiftly by confronting Michael Lewis and eventually arresting him. But not all stalking cases are treated with the same urgency. Victims often struggle to get the help they need, and by the time authorities take action, the situation may have already escalated. Stronger laws and better training for law enforcement can make a significant difference in protecting victims and holding stalkers accountable. One major problem is that existing laws and policies often fall short when addressing these situations. For example, if someone sends threatening messages but does not explicitly state an intent to harm, authorities may hesitate to act. This gray area in the law leaves many public figures vulnerable, as their concerns are not always taken seriously. Some individuals resort to hiring private investigators to gather information about their stalkers, but this approach can be costly and is not a long-term solution.
Comfortable interactions that I had with a fan who I found out later was a fan, but maybe was a little bit more obsessed.
The case of a woman receiving sexually violent threats online further illustrates these challenges. Despite documenting the messages and sharing them with social media platforms and law enforcement, she was told that action could only be taken if the threats escalated to a specific level. This lack of proactive measures can be frustrating and frightening for those experiencing such harassment. One way to address this issue is through heightened security measures, especially for women in sports leagues like the WNBA or NCAA. These organizations must prioritize the safety of their players and staff by implementing stricter protocols. For example, having a dedicated team to monitor threats and investigate individuals showing obsessive behavior could make a significant difference. Players and staff should also be educated on the risks of oversharing personal details online and encouraged to limit location-based posts. Another potential solution is for leagues and organizations to cover the costs of personal security for their players. Hiring security personnel can be expensive, but it is a necessary investment for protecting individuals who face elevated risks due to their public profiles. The NBA could step in to provide financial assistance for such measures, ensuring that WNBA players feel safe both on and off the court. As women's sports continue to grow in popularity, the need for robust security measures will only increase. Greater visibility brings more fans, but it also attracts individuals who may have harmful intentions. Addressing these concerns early on can prevent incidents from escalating and send a clear message that player safety is a top priority. The responsibility does not rest solely on organizations. Social media platforms also play a crucial role in protecting users from harassment. These platforms should improve their reporting systems to allow for quicker responses to threats. They should also collaborate with law enforcement to ensure that reports of harassment and stalking are taken seriously. On a personal level, public figures can take steps to protect themselves by being mindful of what they share online. Delaying posts about specific locations or events until after leaving can reduce the likelihood of unwanted encounters. Using privacy settings to limit who can see certain posts is another way to maintain some control over personal information. So what do you think about this? Comment down your thoughts right now, and while you're down there, don't forget to hit that subscribe button as well.